But you know something, by the time I was 5, we knew there was no future in me singing. I had no future whatsoever.
What was when going into boxing, when did you add the sugar, and was there a particular reason? Did it just ring right, or what's the thing?
You know, once, because after I got past like 20 fights, it was 20-0, I wanted to emulate my idols. And my idols were Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, Bruce Lee, Elvis Presley. Yeah, because they were all cool, man. They was all smooth and everything. And I combined that. I used all their sources.
Good job you didn't name yourself after all of them, isn't it? Elvis, Sugar Ray. Obviously, you had a great amateur career. Just went from strength to strength, and you were part of the 1976 Olympic boxing team with the likes of the Spinks brothers, I believe, and so on and so forth. That must have been fantastic to be involved in that.
You know, John, that was one of the best teams ever, and I do say so myself. We won 5 gold medals, and back then, you know, it was so wonderful, man, because we fought the Russians and the Cubans. I fought a guy from the UK, Clint McKenzie. Yeah, I beat him in the quarterfinals. He was very fast.
Not fast enough.
Not fast enough. Yes. But you know, the thing about the Olympics is the fact that it was kind of bittersweet, because I was going to quit fighting, because I was happy that I wanted the gold medal, but sad that it would be over, because I was expecting to go to the University of Maryland to better my education, to get a better job, and go to work. But what had happened, when I got home, my dad was very sick. My dad was very ill. He had spinal meningitis and tuberculosis. He went into a coma. We had no money in the family. So one of my mentors said, Ray, if you turn pro, you know, you can make a lot of fast money. And that was the only reason I turned professional, because I had no intentions of being a professional fighter, because I've heard some horrible stories about fighters who made a lot of money, but at the end of the day had nothing to show for it, became homeless. I didn't want to be one of those guys. I turned pro, and my first professional fight was against Louis the Bull Vega. And one thing about boxing, your very first fight is very important. It's imperative that you win. So I fought a guy, he was about that tall. Yeah, and that's with his hat on. So I beat this guy, and I just kept going, because I said, you know, I can do this. And the more I fought, the more I won. My dad regained his health, and I said, you know, this is not a bad job. So I continued, but I said, you know what? I don't want to be just a boxer or a champion. I want to be something special. So I worked hard. I did more than the other guy. I did more than the other fighter. I did more sit-ups. I ran further, another mile. I did everything to be the best I could be.
Well, you're certainly the best as an amateur in the Olympics. In the Olympics, you had 6 bouts, won them all 5-0 as we call it, 5-zip I think you call it, sort of thing. And that was just at 20. You had an incredible amateur record, 145 fights with just 5 losses. Obviously decided to pack up, but went pro for that reason. And you joined up with the legendary Angelo Dundee. Was that your choice, his choice, bit of both? How did that come about?
I got Angelo because Muhammad Ali told me that. He said, Ray, get Angelo Dundee because he's the best. And in fact, he was the best.
And simply, there was nowhere else to go, there was no other choice, and it was purely him because Ali said, or were other people after you?
Well, the thing about my career, which really was a relatively short career based on everyone else's career, but I fought once. When I first started fighting, I fought once a month, sometimes twice a month, because I wanted to gain as much experience. I wanted to be as versatile as I possibly could, so when that title fight did come about, I could dominate. And my first title fight was against Wilfred Benitez, 1979, in Las Vegas, Nevada, and it went nearly 15 rounds until I stopped him. And that was without question, that was a major fight, because I made $1 million in that fight, and I was the first fighter, non-heavyweight, that had made $1 million. And the greatest thing about that fight was the fact that I got home and I told my mother and father, I said, Mom, Dad, you guys are retired. You guys don't have to work another day in your life. And they both cried. That was wonderful, wonderful. It's why I became a professional fighter, to help my parents out, and it was incredible.
Fantastic, fantastic. What was the major difference did you find from amateur to pro? Was there a big difference? How would you describe that?
Well, naturally, the guys are more experienced. They're stronger, and you know, it's a whole different ballgame. It's like night and day, naturally, because you have to be a professional fighter, successful professional fighter. You gotta feel, you gotta be in shape. You don't play boxing. You gotta be on your A game each and every time. And the thing about my era is a fight that champions fought champions. You know, if you want to be the best pound for pound, you fight the best pound for pound. That's the difference between this era here and my era.
So you won your first 13 or 14 fights, and then you came to the one against Floyd Mayweather Senior. Was that the toughest one of your career at that stage so far?
It was a tough fight. And by the way, I beat Floyd Mayweather's father. Actually, I knocked him out. But they always ask me, they say, "Can you beat? You think you could beat Floyd Mayweather Jr.?" I said, "You know what? Like father, like son."
So you went on to 27 wins, no defeats, and your next fight was at Caesar's Palace on the 30th of November 1979 against Wilfred Benitez to become the WC World Champion. How did that feel? World Champion?
Well, that was naturally, like I said, that was